This is Blender 4. First thing we're going to do is we're going to make a door. Let's go to the side view and we'll make it skinny. And it's just a basic cube, and we'll make it tall. Let's go to the front again and zoom in. At this point, we're going to go into edit mode. So edit mode. And what I want to do is add additional subdivisions on this object. So I'm going to do loop cut. And I'm going to, there we go. Okay, I'm going to add 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. In that direction. And then select everything and then do loop cut again. And this time do it in this direction. Okay, so we got that done. So let's go in the front view and do the rest of the work. So now, since the panel door, we want to kind of isolate and organize things. So if I border select and select these, border select these, and I like to use this. There is a symmetry option as well, but I usually basically just use the scale. You see if I move one and move the other, so I can adjust those. And select these and make this more narrow. And then border select, and I can basically manually adjust the horizontal ones to get what I like it to look like. And I think that's good enough for the time being for what we're doing. So at this point, we're ready to go to the next level and actually add some detail. So we're going to select these 3 faces, but right now if we move these and do anything, you see that really distorts everything. So what we need to do is add extra geometry. So we're going to use the extrude individual option, and you see even the instant I do that, when I start to move the mouse cursor, I already get this to move around. Now if you look in the front, it's gone back, but it hasn't tapered in at all. And you have to do that separately. So if I go in the scale mode and I go to do it, it's scaling everything from the center point. So we need to change the default, which is basically transformations or pivots around everything you have selected to individual origins. And now if we scale it, we can make each one of these slightly smaller. So you see that now we have these insets and they're smaller. So now we will extrude individuals again. And this time we can come back out to where we were, go back in the front view, hit test for scale again, and make sure that we go back to a medium point default. And at this point, the door is pretty well, that part of the door is done. So let's rename this door. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'll go to the top, and now we're going to add a doorknob. And I'll just hide everything else. I'm going to add a Bezier curve, and let me do that. Snap cursor to center, curve, Bezier curve. There we go. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to rotate this. It's not a major deal breaker, but ideally what we want to do is see if we can get that point as close to 0 as possible. Most of the work with the curve is done in edit mode, and the first thing you'll notice when you pull up the curve is this annoying, these are the normals, which are basically showing you the directions. So if you go into display, you can turn them off, and then that makes your life a little easier. We want to add some more control points. If you ever used Illustrator, so right now we only have 2 control points for defining this curve. So we'll go curve, segments, subdivide, and I'm going to take this one that's here, and I'm just going to move it to like it. Now I'm going to grab this one and move it down, and select this part and pull it out. Go parallel, and I'm going to do the same thing with this one. And you can see we got those 2 parts of. Let's do the location of this. Get it down. And control point 1, 0, 0. Okay, so that's fine. Close that out. And then with this one, what we want to do is we want to have a sharp edge. So right now these handles are linked, and if I do free, it breaks them into separate segments, and I can get that straight. And I can move this over. I probably don't need it to be this long. And get that straight as well. And sorry. I go back and forth with the right and left click to get these perfect. Okay. And so now if we go out of this mode, you'll see we basically have a shape. So at this point we need to do something with this. So we're going to go grab the modifier, and we're going to use the screw modifier. And when we do that, we get something that looks kind of strange. And that's because it's rotating around the z-axis. So if we change this to the x-axis, you'll see we'll actually have our doorknob. Now, what we want to do is we can't do any individual editing if we want to select vertices or something like that. So what we might want to do at this point, and you don't necessarily have to, but it's an option, is to convert this from a mesh to into a mesh. And now, even though it looks the same, I can't edit the curve anymore, but now it actually has the individual faces, and I can select everything. So, and if we look at the center, let's see if there's anything there. Sometimes there's extra points if you don't get this completely on. Okay, we only have one point there, so it's fine. Let's turn that off and straight. Border select and grab everything. And now we have 16 vertices all on top of each other. And what we want to do is visually, when you go to render, that can cause issues. So we're just going to select all those and merge at center, which is where they all are. Now we have one vertex instead of a bunch. That's the only thing that this program doesn't do that some other 2D programs do automatically. Okay, so we can get out of this mode because we're not going to do anything else. Let me just turn off the default smooth shading so you can see what's happening. So this is actually what we call flat shading. And it doesn't look real. If I turn on smooth, it blurs the edges, but you can see the actual outline doesn't change. It's just where the different faces mean. And we also get this weird change right here. So in order to fix this one, is because basically what it's smoothing the 90-degree angle is to add another modifier called edge split. And you can see that pretty well fixes it. It also changes the artifact. And the way that this works is it basically defines the angle, and if two faces are meet at an angle that's less than this, they get smoothed out, but if not, they get hard. So this is smooth in this direction, but where this edge is, it's hard. You can manually try to do this, but it's a little tricky in this program, so it's actually this modifier is pretty handy to get and create. And then let's rename this. So this is our door knob. Select that and get rid of that. Okay, and let's get this sized. Got two of those, yep, a little big. Scale it, and use it over here, put it in the front, and scale it a little bit more. Grab it, put it from the side, and it looks like we're good to go like that. Okay, so next thing I'm going to do is add the little plate that you would need that also includes the keyhole. So let's go to another layer, and this, for some reason, these default to the top view. So I'm going to add a plane. I'm going to add another plane, and I'm going to add a circle. Now, if I move the circle, you see that it's actually just a series of vertices and edges, and it basically looks like a curve, but it's not. It actually is considered a polygon. But what we want to do is, in order to make a keyhole, we need to have a hole in the plate, and that's a compound shape because we're cutting a hole in it. And you can't generate those easily using the mesh, so it's easier to do with curves. But in order to make a box, it's easier to take a box and convert it from a mesh into a curve than to try to adjust a circle, a curved circle, and get it right. So that's why we're doing the technique this way. So this one, I'm just going to scale down, and make it tall and skinny. And let me switch this over to wireframe view so you can kind of see what I'm doing. So we'll grab this, get that close to here, and then for this big one, this is going to be the back plate. So we can just take that and use that until the doorknob is going to get attached to. Now what we want to do is we want to combine all these and make them a single object. So I'll do object join, and now you can see they're all one single object. And if I go back to solid, you'll see we have this face issue. So I'm going to go into edit mode and grab the face and do only faces, because we want to get rid of the edges or the vertices, and only faces as well. And now we have this series of vertices that are all combined. So if I go into vertex selection mode, look at that, you'll see we have some different items. I'm just going to come in and basically order select, let's get rid of those. X, get rid of vertices, those, X vertices, and I'm going to get rid of these two. And now I have this shape, but I can take that vertex and this one. And if I hit the F key, it creates a new edge, and likewise, these, if I create, so now I kind of get that profile. At this point, everything's done with this plate, but what I need to do is I need to convert it. So I'm going to go Object, Convert to Curve from Mesh, and at this point, everything looks the same. But if I go over to Object Data, now I have these controls, which are handy. So if I turn this on an angle, just so you can see what I'm doing, the neat thing is that there's a built-in extrude option, so the instant you start to move this up and down, it automatically extrudes. If you turn it to 2D, it basically changes the shape and makes it solid. And then you can let's make this a little skinnier. And then to modify the edges, there's also a built-in bevel option, even though you don't have too much control over the angle or the size, but it's something that you can use to kind of create a certain look. And if I hit smooth, it automatically smooths out everything. And now I have my my plate. So I will rename this for plate. And I will need to, if I look at this in the front view, I'm going to have to rotate this. I'm going to hold down the Control key and unlock key. Okay, now let me just pull up the other ones and we'll just do it all at one time. Everything. Okay, this is obviously way too big. And let's get it. Yeah, that's why I'm going to just. Okay, there we go. And now let's move that forward so we can see it. And just get it down. Grab it and get it in position. And you see now we kind of get the door set up with the basics and get the idea. So that's the most complicated one, and that covers a lot of stuff because we're talking introduces curves, compound shapes, extrusion, different items. So let's go to a new layer, and I'm going to show you how to make a lampshade. A lot of times you get these stained glass lampshades done during this time period. So we'll do add mesh to the cube, and we're gonna I can go into edit mode. I'll make sure I'm in face selection mode, grab the top, and delete it. Now if I do vertices, it's going to take everything. I just want the face, and I want to delete the bottom as well. Now at this point, what I want to do is I'm just going to go to vertex selection mode and make sure I can see through everything. And let's go to view, and I'm just going to do scale and pull this in and pull this down. You can also select the face and do this as well. It doesn't make a difference, but basically now we have kind of that lampshade form that we can start to work with and kind of start to manipulate. So I'm going to select the faces, all the faces.